All right, we teased this yesterday on the show, Bull, and I got to go forward.
Yeah.
When the Browns had the second pick last season.
Yeah.
Todd McShay does an exercise every year, and he's done it specifically since he launched his podcast, where he surveys all the GMs and scouts and executives he talks to at the Combine, and then comes
Todd
out.
McShay.
Todd McShay, yes.
For a second, I thought you said Tyvis. I'm like, Tyvis is interviewing GMs? And
Todd
I'm like, that's
McShay.
impressive, Tyvis.
Come on now.
On his on the Todd
going
McShay
national.
podcast, he did sit down with 7 general managers.
I trust
at the
Tyvis more than
Combine.
Todd McShay, by the way.
I do too,
Yeah.
for what it's worth. But Todd actually does a really good job. Sat down with
Yeah.
7 general managers. It's more than just 7.
Yeah.
And he has them fill out a survey of who are your blue chip can't miss prospects, and he comes up with his consensus blue chippers for each class.
I like that.
Last year,
He had Mason Graham on there, didn't he?
he did, yes. And we spent, no joke, we did this exact topic last year.
Yeah.
It was 13 seconds. I said, Mason Graham. You said, no. And we were all on board.
Mason Graham, after year 1, I would say is very good, but not blue chip.
No,
Fine, but we were just out on Mason Graham.
When we did this exercise,
Yeah.
I said he's definitely probably a blue chip. I thought it was like 4 or 5 blue chips.
Do you still think he's a blue chip? Or is he just good?
My only issue with Mason Graham has ever been I don't see the pass rush.
Right. So he's not blue chip.
I think he's an unbelievable run stopper. They was trying to sell me on the fact that he's going to be like this 4 or 5 sack a season guy, and I don't see. He did. He finished his career with like 4 sacks with the Wolverines in like 3 years.
Yeah.
So my point was,
Okay, who were the guys last year? See if they got it right.
well, it was Travis Hunter.
Hurt.
TBA.
Cam Ward was not on that list.
Okay.
They were not all sold on him. Mason Graham.
I would say Mason Graham looks like more a good player.
More
than
of a
blue
hit
chip.
than a miss.
More of a hit than a miss, but not blue chip. You think blue chip? He could become blue chip. We'll see. He's got
Blue chip mean that he coming in the league and he's going to be a dominant player right away.
You got to be
Mason Graham, to the most part, was that.
You got to be an all-pro.
Did his effectiveness slide when Malik got hurt?
Yes, it did.
And that's concerning.
Yes.
Well, it did. And then, what game was it?
Then he played better.
It was a game
games,
where, like, the first quarter, he was terrible. And then, like, after that, they, like,
that the
stopped.
Steeler game?
It might have been Buffalo, maybe?
Buffalo?
Because
So
James Cook
there
was going
5 last year.
crazy.
Let me read the 5, and
Yeah,
then
go
I'll
ahead.
get
All
to
right,
where
go
we're
ahead.
going this year. It was Hunter, Abdul Carter, Mason Graham, Ashton Genty, and Tyler Warren. Those were the 5 consensus blue
Tyler
chip
Warren,
prospects.
for
Tyler
sure.
Warren looks like
Genty is, I don't know, because they line is trash.
kind of like Judkins with the Brown situation. Genty, I think Genty's going to be great if they can improve their offensive line.
Yeah.
He just was getting hit in the backfield every play, kind of like Judkins.
Graham, Genty, Warren.
Abdul
Warren was
Carter.
fantastic.
Abdul Carter was second in DPOY. So,
Yeah.
I mean, offensive or rookie
All right.
DPOY.
So those were the 5
Respectable.
consensus
Okay,
blue
so
chippers
overall
last
it was
year.
a solid job.
This year, there are only 3 consensus blue chippers.
Caleb
in the
Downs.
survey.
I like how Mike says 3, and he's got to give us the fingers.
Caleb Downs.
I'm a hand talker.
Yeah. Go
The
ahead.
3
Caleb
consensus- and
Downs.
once again,
Jeremiah Love. And
2 of the 3, Tyvis.
Sonny Styles.
no.
That's third.
It is
Is
Sonny
it?
Styles.
I thought it'd be Reese.
I
Nope.
thought
Reese
it was
not
going to
considered
be.
a consensus. And when asked about
Wow.
it, McShay said some teams aren't sure of his exact position. Not that they don't love him as a prospect, but unless you had a defined position, they couldn't put him in that quote-unquote.
And the
blue
Browns
chip
won't draft
category.
any of them.
And my question to you is, they took a blue chipper last year. We've talked about best player available. We've talked
We
about
got
Caleb
2
Downs.
blue chippers.
We haven't talked
and
about
we couldn't beat Miami.
haven't talked about Sonny Styles or Jeremiah Love. Boy, you brought up the idea of a Jeremiah Love possibly yesterday. But if this is a true best player available decision by Andrew Berry, those 3 could all be on the board when they draft at 6. Bull, in your mind, if a blue chipper is available at 6, would any of those 3 be worth taking at that position for the Browns?
It's hard to say because if you're convinced that those 3 players are going to be superstars, like Hall of Fame caliber players, that's what I look at as blue chip.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame caliber players.
Yeah.
Then yes, I would consider all 3 of them, even though the Browns, those are not priority spots for the Browns. It's so tough because the Browns are just so bad on offense. And the one player the one position they have a guy, or the 2 positions they have a guy you even like, is tight end and running back, and that's the only offensive guy in this group. And so while I don't think they're going to draft any of these guys, I mean, if you're convinced that Jeremiah Love is – if Jeremiah Love is going to be Jahmyr Gibbs or Bijan Robinson –
Saquon Barkley.
Or Saquon Barkley, then I can't kill you for it. I think that's unlikely. And the same thing with the defensive players. I get it. It's not the perfect scenario, but ultimately the Browns can't fix all their holes in 1 year. So if they're convinced that one of these guys is a Hall of Famer, then I will not kill them for it, but they better be right. I don't think Mason Graham's going to be a Hall of Famer. Completely unfair to say after 1 year.
Malik Collins on a 2-year deal. So we got him for another year.
Yes. What was his injury?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
What was Malik Collins' injury, Mike? You remember?
I'll look it up. Wasn't it ACL?
What do you guys think? That's how I feel about it.
If the Browns,
real quick, severe quad injury that required surgery.
Okay.
What's recovery on that?
probably
out the rest of the season. I'll try to find.
I mean, when did he get hurt?
My
like November?
quad
Week 13.
Hurting.
November 30th.
I got quad tendonitis
Yeah.
and it still hurts. So I'm the wrong person to ask that. Never is the question. Is the answer. If Jeremiah Love, Sonny Styles, or Caleb Downs is on there and they're going to take the best player available, is that the question?
Yeah.
Would I be mad
Would you
at
be
it?
mad at any of them?
No.
No.
Because if they did that, I'm assuming that it would probably be one of the defensive guys because I think they like Quinshawn. I would imagine it would be Sonny or Caleb. If they did that, to me, they would be trying to look like the old Baltimore Ravens, which if you're playing in the AFC North, defense has always been a huge priority. You know, for a lot of years, the AFC North team made it to at least the conference final. I done went back to basketball. They done went to the conference championship game. So, to me, you could make it work. It could work, but it's
You
so
better be
hard.
right.
It's so hard to think because there's so much wrong on the offensive side of the ball. I'd have to see how free agency went.
Well,
Are you totally against any idea of drafting Jeremiah Love?
he would be third on my list.
He would definitely be third on my list, too.
Is he clearly significantly better than Judkins, or no?
As a prospect, he is considered in that Bijan Robinson, generational running back prospect tier. How it pans out, who knows? But that is the caliber of running back that he is.
I'm really high on Quinshawn.
He is.
I'm high on Quinshawn, too.
What I will tell you is he was really good at Notre Dame.
But you could also
really good.
I mean, you can
use both.
Look what Detroit did. I mean, they just moved on from Montgomery, but
He
can run with both.
He was really good.
And you talk about taking pressure off a young quarterback. Two running backs that can run like that.
If you had Love and Judkins in the backfield, I mean,
that could be. We almost had Jim Brown and Ernie Davis. Until he had leukemia.
We were talking about this a couple weeks ago when the Caleb Downs thing came up. I don't think either one of you were on the show. The point that I made then was, if you go back, the draft when Ed Reed was coming out.
Oh yeah, I was there.
Were you here for that?
Yeah.
And they took William Green, and it made a perfect sense. They filled a need. They were last in the league in rushing the year before. He was the number one running back on the board. It made perfect sense. Everyone applauded the move. And now all these years later, who'd you rather have, Ed Reed or William Green?
I mean, it's not even close.
It's not even close.
Obviously.
So that's why I do lean toward but he's got to be a dude.
Yeah.
That's what I've been saying is what you said.
Yeah.
You got to think he's going to Canton. That's why. And if he is,
Caleb is
if
good.
you think he is, how do you pass on him?
can't.
Would be my question. Not how do you take him? How do you pass on him?
The thing with Caleb is he does so much, and it's so above shoulders that it would take away a lot of stuff. Just pre-snap alignment.
Are we sure Caleb Downs and Sonny Styles are getting to 6? I don't know.
I think, to be honest, the most likely to not be there at 6 is Jeremiah Love.
Oh, really?
You think the Cardinals take him at 3?
The Cardinals and the Titans are both his odds of, after his combine performance, which he didn't have to run, didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Blew all the athletic testing out the water. He ran
4.37.
faster than Jahmyr Gibbs, 15 pounds heavier than Jahmyr Gibbs.
Oh, my God.
Which is a scary thought. He is now, the odds, at least in the books, have him not making it past 4.
Yeah. I would be open to any of the 3. if you're convinced they're going to be a Hall of Famer. Even
if
Love.
I had to pick one out of them, I'm taking Caleb. Because I like the fact that he plays safety, he plays nickel. You can put him at a linebacker for some plays, and he's just so smart.
You would take him over Sonny?
I would.
How does he fit with Delpit? That should change your mind.
I would play him at nickel, but I don't know how much man-to-man I would do with him at nickel. I would have to.
I see.
I would have to. If it's an obvious pass down, I would have to put a corner in at that nickel spot because I don't know.
Can he play linebacker? You think Caleb
he
can play
did
linebacker? In the NFL? I mean, I know if you do it at Ohio State,
he is a really good tackler.
Yeah,
like he's probably the best open field tackler I've seen in a while. Like he really does not miss tackles.
Yeah,
but Sonny is also the same. Sonny also doesn't miss tackles.
You know either of them personally?
I've done work with both of them. I've interviewed Caleb last year for the Big Ten, and then Sonny, I did some stuff back.
Are they dogs?
Dogs. Like, do they have that dog mentality?
Yeah.
Caleb definitely does.
Yeah.
Sonny definitely does.
Okay.
But Sonny has been good. See, I've been watching Sonny since I was in high school. So, back before I did all the radio stuff, I was calling high school games. So when I got his game, he was at Pick North. When I called his game, they was, you in for a treat. You got Sonny Styles.
What did he play in high school?
He was playing safety because he was a DB. He was playing safety and receiver.
Oh, really? And where did Caleb Downs play high school?
Ooh,
he's not from Ohio,
no.
is he?
No, he transferred.
Yeah, he was at Alabama first. Oh, right. But it was down to Bama and Ohio State. But anyways, make a long story short, both of them will be great. They both will be great. I think they'll both have really good careers.
It would be an unbelievable defense.
Oh,
if you had
it would. But you're literally telling me you're going back to – you're trying to be like Pittsburgh back in the day, the Ravens back in the day. Like that's what you're essentially saying. We're going to run the ball on offense, and we're going to play great defense.
You do that, I think you're more likely to now sign a veteran quarterback.
I don't know that – I don't know. I don't know.
We just need the quarterback to be solid.
You would basically be saying – we like Shador, and we're going to bring him along slow.
See, I think you're just saying
because you're taking pressure off of him.
I think you're just taking talent. I think you guys are reading too much into it.
Smart teams take the best players, even if it's not an obvious position of need.
That's how you get really good.
Yeah. It's going to be fascinating.
Can I throw an idea out to you guys real quick?
What?
You know how when JOK, the report came out last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, that he may not be able to play again, and I know we all expected that. The thought of JOK and his style of linebacker alongside of Carson Schlesinger.
Oh, my goodness.
Sonny Styles is kind of like a JOK on steroids.
I mean, you're talking about a ex-safety who was a hard-hitting safety.
Exactly.
I'm talking about who reclassified. So he got to college at 17, played in the game, and was lighting people up like grown men. I was like, yeah, he different. For sure.
He's got a great name, too.
Have you guys seen, by the way,
well, his first name
highlights?
is Alexander, but
that's not great.
That's his first name.
Sonny's badass.
My oldest son's name, thanks.
Alexander Styles, but he goes
I'm not saying
Sonny.
it's a bad name. It's just not it's
messing
not
with
sexy
you.
like Sonny Styles.
I'm just
Well, have
messing
you
with
seen
you.
his basketball highlights, by the way, from high
No.
school? Steve, take tag. We're full here for 1 second. This is Sonny Styles as a high school senior, just a heads up. Playing in Ohio.
Oh, my God.
He was on the championship team with Devin Royal, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Who's
Can
at
you
Ohio
imagine
State
him
now?
and Carson Schlesinger. I mean, because it's basic. He's a
Oh,
safety
my
in a linebacker's
God.
body.
Basically.
I just feel like in today's NFL, I'm talking myself more and more into Sonny Styles because I think he could be. You know, we talk about like mismatches in basketball.
Dude, he looks like he's 25 playing in high school. He's
know.
got an older looking face.
And he's bigger. He put on 20 pounds since then of pure muscle. He's faster. He jumps higher.
Jeez.
The thought of adding him as an X factor into a Browns defense alongside a Denzel Ward, a Grant Delpit, a Carson Schlesinger, a Myles Garrett, like I think Mike Rutenberg, like he's a queen on a chessboard, and I think Caleb Downs could be that in a smaller size sense, but. He's 6'5", 245, runs a 4.4, jumps through the roof.
I don't think he's going to get to 6.
I'm talking myself into Sonny Styles.
One
of the three of them will.
One of the teams.
Yeah, sure.
One of the teams at the Combine said that he was the most impressive. That was one of the most impressive interviews they've done since James Laurinaitis.
All right, let's talk some baseball here.
We got the trade compensation. It was a second-round pick for DJ Moore.